Kevin Levrone is brought up in bodybuilding circles, a lot of people like to speak up as if he came up short. This just simply is not true, and it's not the full picture. He's one of the most hardworking and toughest bodybuilders to ever set foot on stage. His story isn't just one of what he didn't win, but one of resilience, discipline, and showing up every single time. This is the story of Kevin Levrone. Kevin Levrone was born in 1964 in the city of Baltimore to a father who was Italian and an African-American mother, and he immediately faced hardship. Both of his parents passed away from cancer at a very young age, his father when he was 10 and his mother when he was 20.
I didn't have a father growing up, unfortunately. It was 6 of us. My mother had to raise 6 kids by herself. I was the youngest. We were 2 years apart. He died from cancer. My mother ended up dying from cancer.
As well as throughout his childhood years, he was ruthlessly bullied, mostly for not having a father figure. However, his life changed a lot in his late teenage years when his cousin came back from the Marines. He saw his physique and his strength and was completely inspired to go to the gym. He saw immediate progress and became strong extremely fast, with size catching up a bit later. For a while, the gym was just an outlet for escape and a safe place of self-expression. But after seeing how rare and raw his natural talent was, he decided to dedicate his whole life to it. Following years and years of training, when he was 23, he had his first bodybuilding contest in his hometown of Baltimore, called Mr. Colossus, and he won. This gave him a huge boost in confidence, and the next year he entered a National Physique Committee NPC Maryland contest, and also won. This opened a door for him to enter the National NPC contest, which is one of, if not the largest amateur bodybuilding contest in America, which he won. Later that year, he wins the IFBB National American Championship, which gave him his IFBB Pro card. Riding this wave of confidence, in the same year, he entered a 1992 Night of Champions and won. Continuing on a roll, he then enters the 1992 Mr. Olympia and faces some serious competition, such as Ronnie Coleman, Sean Ray, Vince Taylor, Lila Balda, and Dorian Yates. Despite it being his first time in Mr. Olympia, he is one of the very few bodybuilders who during their pro year debuted in the top 3. For example, the same Ronnie Coleman, who also debuted that year, placed 16th. The next year, tragedy struck. While benching 600 pounds, his pec tore. Smaller things have ended careers, and doctors said he was probably done. However, a mere 5 months later, he was back on the Mr. Olympia stage. Despite this enormous setback, he still placed 5th. The dust finally began to settle as 1994 began, and he went back to dominating. First place at the Grand Prix France, first place at the Grand Prix Italy, first place at the Arnold Classic, first place at the San Jose Invitational, and second in the Grand Prix Spain, Germany, and England. As the 94 Olympia began, he began to lag. Dorian Yates continued his reign, and Sean Ray placed 2nd, while he placed 3rd. Following this incredible year and feeling snubbed, he trained harder and harder. In 1995 rolled around with a similarly phenomenal year. First place at the Grand Prix Spain, first place at the Grand Prix Germany, first place at the Grand Prix Russia, meanwhile 2nd in the Grand Prix England. As the 1995 Olympia rolled around, he looked his best in years, if not ever. Meanwhile, Dorian Yates, the reigning champion, was recovering from a tricep injury, and he was on noticeable decline. Kevin looked better than ever, especially his arms and delts. Despite all of this, he still placed 2nd. He didn't take this loss personally. However, what he did learn is that he needs to switch up his training. He began his infamous 3-month training plan around now.
Is there a place in your mind where you think, had I kept going all year round, maybe I would have been better?
No.
You know that for certain?
Yeah, because when I did go Fouad, I went balls to the walls for 4 months. I went balls to the wall. My body was hurting. My body was maxed out. There was times, man, where when I didn't think I was going to make it, to be honest with you, because I realized that my body was a hyper responder and I could gain muscle so quick in such a short period of time. I could go from 225 to 245, close to 256. I was 256 at the Arnold one year, and I put on all that weight in 3 months, and it was muscle. I was like, this is crazy.
When 1996 began, the results came in. First place in the Arnold Classic, San Jose, and San Francisco Invitational. Meanwhile, he placed top 5 for the Grand Prix Spain, England, Germany, Czech Republic, Switzerland, and Russia. 97 came, and Kevin was dialed in on his 3-month training plan. Although he got 8th in the Arnold Classic, he got 1st in the Grand Prix Hungary, Spain, Finland, Czech Republic, Germany, and England. He got 2nd in the Grand Prix Russia, behind the up-and-coming bodybuilder named Ronnie Coleman. Meanwhile, the Mr. Olympia that year was incredibly controversial. Dorian Yates yet again suffered a terrible tricep injury. Meanwhile, Flex Wheeler was forced to leave due to being carjacked by thieves, even taking injuries to his arm while trying to defend his car. Despite all of this, Kevin still only placed 4th. He didn't take it personally and just gritted his teeth and went back to work. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Kevin Levrone loved music, inspired by artists/bands like Lenny Kravitz, Seal, Prince, U2, and Nirvana. He formed an alternative rock band. 1998 looked extremely hopeful. Dorian had retired and his confidence grew massively. However, the rising star Ronnie Coleman came in guns blazing. Ronnie Coleman had been competing in bodybuilding since 1990 and pro since 1991. Ronnie Coleman completely swiped 1998. He won Mr. Olympia, the Toronto Invitational, Night of Champions, and Grand Prix Finland and Germany. Meanwhile, Kevin Levrone won the San Francisco Invitational and placed 4th in Mr. Olympia. In a single year, Ronnie Coleman changed everything. Levrone would have to readjust his strategy. Although Dorian Yates planned to seize for it, Coleman made sheer mass far more important than it was previously. Levrone mostly abstained from shows in 1999. He was busy preparing for a comeback in the year 2000. The year 2000 came, and Levrone went full force in his training. When Mr. Olympia came, it was extremely close. Ronnie Coleman's midsection was very bloated. However, his back was unbeatable. Meanwhile, Levrone was in one of his best shapes ever, particularly his delts, chest, and arms. After a bit of deliberation, Ronnie Coleman was declared winner. He was disappointed that he didn't win, but he didn't lose hope. He kept going. 2001 came, and he won the Grand Prix England. Meanwhile, the Mr. Olympia seemed relatively hopeful. It came down to just 3. Kevin, Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman was vying for his 4th title. Meanwhile, Jay and Cutler were trying to get there first. Jay had been competing since 1999 and rapidly rose their ranks. Meanwhile, Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman were incredibly close. Meanwhile, Kevin Levrone was noticeably behind them. Levrone placed 3rd, with Jay Cutler being a mere 4 points behind Ronnie Coleman. Before this Olympia was even over, Levrone was planning his comeback. He knew it was time for all or nothing. He went beyond all out. He gave it more than his all. His training was ridiculously intense, and his diet was extremely strict. Kevin Levrone looked his best in years, if not ever. His chest and delts were on point, meanwhile his midsection was tight. He came in beyond the word confident and ready to win. Ronnie Coleman had his usual back, but his midsection was even more bloated than ever. Luckily for both Coleman and Levrone, Cutler didn't participate in this Olympia due to contract. Other competitors such as Dexter Jackson, Chris Cornier, and Gunter Schlierkamp were all judged extremely harshly, which got the top 2, Ronnie Coleman and Kevin Levrone. Both Ronnie Coleman and Kevin Levrone stood there as they awaited the results from the judge, with Ronnie Coleman even giving Kevin Levrone some angry looks. They stayed there, and they kept waiting for the result, and the judges finally made a decision. The winner of the 2002 Mr. Olympia was Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman's win in the 2002 Mr. Olympia was extremely controversial, with some saying Kevin Levrone or even Gunter Schlierkamp should have won. This was his last real chance at victory. If he was going to win any Mr. Olympia, it was this one. He knew this as he walked off stage in complete silence. He made no excuses. He had given it his all, and even then some. He knew it was pretty much over. By the time the 2003 Mr. Olympia came, it just simply wasn't the same anymore. Ronnie Coleman came back in one of his best shapes ever. Jay Cutler came back after his aforementioned break in 2002. Meanwhile, Schlierkamp came back in a phenomenal shape. And throughout this, Kevin Levrone was still recovering from a pretty bad injury. He didn't even crack top 5 and got 6th. Ronnie Coleman won his 6th title, and Kevin Levrone believed it was time to pack up. Not only Mr. Olympia, but bodybuilding as a whole. He was getting older and older, and all his competitors were younger than him, and his fire was beginning to die down. Arnold Schwarzenegger had retired from bodybuilding following a deeply controversial victory from the 1980 Mr. Olympia. Mike Mentzer had retired from bodybuilding following the disillusionment after losing to Arnold in 1980. Lee Haney retired in 1991 following 8 Mr. Olympia wins and left like a king. Dorian Yates retired bodybuilding following 6 Mr. Olympia wins, but left more like a wounded king with torn triceps and shredded tendons. And Frank Zane had retired a legend. Meanwhile, Kevin Levrone left in a quiet fade. He made no grand exit like Lee Haney. He didn't leave with rage like Mentzer, and he didn't leave like a wounded king like Yates did. He just quietly threw in the towel and walked away from bodybuilding. Ronnie Coleman would go on to eventually win 8 Mr. Olympias as a whole, before eventually being defeated by Jay Cutler in a close call in 2006, before retiring as a whole in 2007. Following the end of his bodybuilding career, he actually did many things. Under the aforementioned band, he made an album in 2006 called Mirage. Later on in the 2010s, he even released some solo music. He would eventually go on to get married and have one son, Gabe Levrone, who wouldn't become a bodybuilder, but would become a sprinter. He even made a symbolic return to bodybuilding in the 2016 Mr. Olympia. He trained for 5 months, injuring both his chest and knee, and he placed 16th. He still works out to this very day and maintains an insane physique, especially once you account for the fact he's 61. Kevin Levrone stands as the most decorated bodybuilder to ever win Mr. Olympia, and one of the most of all time. He had 4 second places in Mr. Olympia, with 20 first places in normal IFBB shows, and 50 in the top 3. All of this out of 64 contests. He even had the record for the most IFBB wins, until 2001, when Vince Taylor beat it. A lot of people think of Kevin Levrone's bodybuilding story as one of him not winning the Mr. Olympia. This just simply isn't true. His story isn't one of falling short and short again, but standing tall again and again as one of the greatest bodybuilders who ever set foot on the stage.
Hello, my friend, we'll meet again. It's been a while, where should we begin? Feels like forever. Within my heart, memories, perfect love that you gave to me. Oh, I